Berlin, April 1945. The city is burning. Buildings crumble under the weight of relentless Soviet artillery. Streets are empty, except for scattered civilians fleeing in panic. Deep beneath the Reich's chancellery, Adolf Hitler sits in the Führerbunker, isolated, surrounded by his closest aides. The empire he once commanded is collapsing above him, but he refuses to see it. The bunker is a maze of concrete corridors and dimly lit rooms. The air is thick, heavy with cigarette smoke, damp and stale. Maps of Germany hang on the walls, dotted with pins marking cities that have already fallen. Officers whisper quietly to each other, avoiding Hitler's gaze. Outside, the sounds of war draw ever closer, echoing like the death knell of the Third Reich. On April 29th, Eva Braun, wearing a simple blue silk dress, stands beside Hitler. The two are married in a private ceremony with only a handful of witnesses. There is no celebration, no joy, just the quiet intimacy of two people sharing their final hours together. Later, they eat a modest meal. Hitler's hands tremble slightly as he lifts his fork. For the first time in years, there are no orders, no speeches, no rants. Only silence and the distant roar of artillery. After the meal, Hitler dictates his final political testament. He blames everyone for the fall of Germany. His generals, the Jews, the Allies, even the German people. But never himself. He names Admiral Karl Dönitz as his successor and Joseph Goebbels as chancellor. The typing stops and Hitler shakes hands with his secretaries, polite and calm. They cry. He does not. For the first time, the Führer shows no fury, only a quiet, eerie acceptance of what is to come. Meanwhile, outside the bunker, the Soviet army closes in. Red artillery shells tear through Berlin streets, and civilians huddle in basements listening to the collapse of the city they once called home. Fires rage across the skyline, and smoke fills the air with the stench of destruction. The Reich's infrastructure, its pride, and its power all crumble in a matter of hours. Hitler moves through the bunker alone, reviewing maps, issuing quiet orders, checking on his officers. Each command is ignored or mismanaged. Supplies run low. Communications are severed. His generals are scattered or captured. The empire he envisioned, the thousand-year Reich, exists now only as concrete walls, fearful faces, and empty corridors. Eva Braun and Hitler share quiet conversations late into the night. She tries to comfort him, speaking softly about the past, about memories from simpler times. Hitler listens with a distant expression, lost in thought. He recalls the rise of the Nazi Party, the speeches, the rallies, the sense of power and pride. But tonight, those memories feel hollow, meaningless in the shadow of the city burning above them. The officers in the bunker move restlessly. Goebbels still tries to maintain the illusion of order, insisting that there is a plan, a way to turn the tide. But no one believes him. Each day brings news of another city falling, another army destroyed. Hope is gone. What remains is fear and the knowledge that the end is near. Throughout the night, Hitler walks alone through the halls of the bunker, sometimes pausing to speak quietly with aides, sometimes standing alone, staring at maps of a nation in ruins. He orders small units to hold positions in the city that no longer exist, sending soldiers into streets controlled by the Soviets. Each order is a futile attempt to maintain control, a desperate grasp at a crumbling reality. Meanwhile, in the lower levels of the bunker, other officers prepare their personal documents, writing letters to families, sealing last wills, and trying to make sense of what comes next. The tension is palpable. Every shadow in the corridor seems like an approaching enemy. Every sound echoes like doom. The last evening of April 29th passes with quiet movements, whispered conversations, and the oppressive weight of inevitability. Hitler retreats into his private quarters, reviewing his testament one last time. He arranges his papers meticulously. His aides watch silently, understanding the magnitude of what is about to happen. The Führer is a man aware that his empire is finished, yet unwilling to face it openly. Outside, Berlin burns through the night. Fire spread from building to building, gunfire rattles across streets, and the city's population huddles in fear. Soldiers retreat or surrender. Civilians flee. The city, once a symbol of power and control, is now a wasteland. Inside the bunker, time stretches. Every hour, every minute brings them closer to the inevitable conclusion. Hitler and Eva share quiet moments together, reflecting on the life they have shared. Small conversations about a world that has slipped from their grasp. There is a strange serenity in the middle of chaos, a calm before the final act. The officers in the bunker ready themselves, knowing that the following day will end everything. They make their final reports, check ammunition, and brace for what is to come. The weight of history presses down on each of them. As the night grows darker, Hitler walks alone through the corridors one last time, pausing at maps of a shattered empire. He sees cities he has conquered and lost, armies destroyed, civilians dead or fleeing. And for the first time, perhaps he truly understands the cost of his ambition. The empire he sought to build is nothing more than rubble, smoke, and fear. April 30th is only hours away, and the Führerbunker waits silently for the events that will end the life of the man who tried to rule the world.
The first light of April 30th creeps into the ruined streets of Berlin, pale and weak against the smoke and fire. Inside the Führerbunker, the air is thick with tension. Hitler moves through his private quarters with quiet purpose, checking over documents and maps one last time. His aides hover nearby, silently aware that this day will change history forever. Eva Braun sits at a small table, calm but resigned. She looks at Hitler, seeing the man who once held the world in his hands, now reduced to a solitary figure surrounded by concrete walls. They share a few words, soft and private, words that mean nothing to the world but everything to them. The city outside burns, yet inside, time slows. Hitler dictates his last instructions, not for victory, but for succession. Admiral Karl Donitz will lead Germany, he writes, a token of the illusion of continuity, even as all else collapses. Joseph Goebbels remains his loyal chancellor. The orders are meticulous and cold, reflecting a mind desperate to control what can no longer be controlled. As the hours pass, the bunker grows quieter. The distant sounds of artillery and gunfire seem to fade, replaced by the low murmur of aides preparing for the inevitable. Secretaries gather personal papers and belongings, officers exchange brief nods, and the air is tense with anticipation. The world above is falling apart, and down here, the remnants of the Third Reich brace for the end. By early afternoon, Hitler and Eva make their final preparations. She takes a kyanite capsule that will end her life, a small act of defiance and dignity. Hitler, alone for a moment, takes up his pistol. The act is deliberate, calm, unflinching. In a brief, quiet instant, two lives entwined with the fate of a nation come to their tragic conclusion. The bodies are discovered by aides and quickly wrapped in blankets. They carry them up the narrow stairwell, past the officers and secretaries who have witnessed everything in silence. In the garden above the bunker, gasoline is poured over the corpses. Flames lick the air, consuming the remains of a dictator and his companion. Smoke rises, mixing with the chaos of the burning city. Outside the bunker, Soviet forces are only minutes away. Their guns roar, advancing relentlessly, cutting through the remnants of a shattered Berlin. The streets are littered with debris, and the air is filled with the cries of civilians and soldiers alike. Flames consume entire blocks, a stark reminder of the destruction that Hitler's ambitions brought to the world. The bunker, once a seat of power, is now a tomb and a symbol. The remaining officers scramble to maintain order, yet there is none to be maintained. Reports are made, decisions are taken, but all of it is meaningless. The Reich is gone. The empire of fear and tyranny collapses under its own weight. By the evening of April 30th, Berlin is a city of smoke and ruins. The Soviet flag rises above the Reichstag, and the city is finally under the control of the Allies. Streets that were once bustling with pride and propaganda now lie empty, save for scattered survivors. The dreams of the Third Reich, built on hatred and blood, are extinguished. In the aftermath, history begins to record the events of those final hours. Hitler's death, the self-inflicted demise of Eva Braun, and the frantic collapse of his aides all become stories of a regime undone by its own hubris. The bunker, hidden beneath the city, will be sealed, destroyed, and forgotten for decades. Yet the memory of what happened there endures, a chilling reminder of ambition gone unchecked. The fall of Berlin is more than the death of a man. It is the collapse of an idea, the end of a chapter in human history written in fire and blood.
The survivors of the bunker carry with them the weight of the last days, the knowledge of what it was like to live at the center of tyranny, and the horror of witnessing the final moments of absolute power. And as the city lies in ruins, one truth becomes clear. When hate becomes power, the fall is inevitable. The Führerbunker, once the heart of a world-changing empire, is now silent. Hitler is gone, Ava is gone, and the Third Reich exists only in memory and history books. For Berlin, for Germany, and for the world, the end has come. The lessons of those 12 years are written in rubble, ashes, and the lives of millions who suffered under the shadow of a madman. And yet, even in the darkest moments, the resilience of humanity begins to emerge. Survivors step out from hiding, the city slowly rebuilds, and the world moves forward, scarred but alive. This was the final chapter of the Third Reich, the fall of a dictator, and the story of a city brought to its knees. History remembers, and so must we.